Hello, everybody. Here we are again, Brian and I, to talk about Calgary real estate and interest rates, mortgages, and whatnot. Hey, Brian, I'm glad we're here together. We've been talking about how Calgary seems to be shifting over the last couple of years. There's been some big changes in what people are buying, and maybe you can share a bit more detail about that with our viewers here.
Sure, Josh. I mean, we're just prior to hitting record here. We're looking at this chart here. You can see the blue line in 2 years ago, the beginning of January 2022, where the blue line is showing about, 58% of all sales were single family detached homes in Calgary. And in the same time, 2 years ago, the red line is showing the condo sales, where it was about 17% of all sales were condos. Well, that's really shift. Josh, show them here in December of 2023, so just last month, what we're showing, this blue line, the number of sales, they've gone down by what?
So that number that was almost at 60%, it's just a little bit above 40% now. So we've seen like 15% of the sales that before were going to detached homes are now shifting elsewhere. So we're down to around 43 or so percent for
Right.
the end of 2024. That's a big shift.
And
And
meanwhile,
we haven't
the red
seen a
line.
shift in the other ones, right? It's just apartments and detached homes that are showing any sort of shift.
Right. The red line is showing the apartment style. And again, back in December, we're seeing about 32% of all sales being condos. And so we were talking just like, what's the story behind that? And you mentioned how Calgary seems to be growing up, becoming a big city where it's more dense living and condo style living.
Yeah, with Calgary now being upwards around 1.5 million people in the city, we are definitely growing into a big city. And, traditionally in bigger cities, people get into the housing market not by buying the biggest homes up front, into that detached market. People are buying into condos, and then maybe they can upgrade into those row houses. Or maybe it's just condos until they have enough income. As their income grows over time, or their equity grows over time, it allows people with a larger down payment down the road to get themselves into that detached market, should they even want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And so as we're heading in here to the spring market, which typically is a busy time in Canada and any northern climate, we can see this chart is showing us sales versus inventory. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, Josh?
Sure thing. As you showed me the data for real estate sales in Calgary, I see in this chart here the story of the impact of the Bank of Canada increasing the rates a couple of years back. Back in early 2022, there was the start of a very sharp increase in interest rates. The Bank of Canada increased rates nearly 5% from their low point, and we saw that happen starting in the second quarter. We have the yellow line on this chart here. That's the inventory of all residential properties in Calgary. And as the number of sales was increasing in early 2022 or late 2021, we saw an influx of inventory. A lot of people, now that their homes had increased in value, were looking to sell and maybe to upgrade. But as soon as the Bank of Canada increased the interest rates, we saw a very large decrease in demand. That blue line there, that is the decrease in sales activity. And you can see it really took until the first part of 2023 for the inventory to come back down to a level that's similar to the new listings and the new sales. And we've seen throughout 2023, those two lines are a lot closer to each other now. And so we do have a much tighter inventory level. And with that tighter inventory, homes are selling faster in 2023 than they were in 2022, even if the total number of sales for the year is a bit less.
Mm-hmm.
We're also seeing higher level of sales in the back half of 2023 than we saw in the back half of 2022. I believe that's directly tied to the response of the interest rate changes from before, people getting used to it, and people getting optimistic about interest rates decreasing coming in 2024 and wanting to get in before prices go up even further.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking or seeing as you're working with buyers and sellers alike in the
Well,
last several months?
right, several months, and particularly the past several weeks, and showing at the very end of this, the right hand side of this graph, You can see that red line with new listings and then sales, the blue line. So right now, basically almost everything that gets listed sells. And I mean, not everything, but like the percentage is very high. Absorption rate is nearly 100%. And so what we're seeing now, what does this mean like on the street for buyers and realtors is, we're in, if something comes on the market and it's, sort of affordable or, in a price point or under demand, which, very little inventory, we're seeing lots of showings quickly, and we're seeing multiple offers in basically a lot of properties, a lot of property types. And then even properties that have been sitting on the market for quite a long time for whatever reasons around the marketing and the packaging of it, those are selling too.
So we're seeing a shift into what's being bought. That is the apartment condos. That market's very strong right now. We're seeing good, strong growth in there, especially the 2-bedroom condos, and definitely expect to see a lot of that selling as we enter into 2024.
Yeah. And so what is the story behind this, Josh, as buyers and sellers prepare for this market? Any thoughts on that? First off, you want to be coming in, if you're in this market, let's say as a buyer, I suppose is what we should focus on here is, you want to have your pre-approvals and your financing in place. Does that make sense, Josh?
As I'm working with people who are getting pre-approved, what I'm talking to them about is the importance of having that solid pre-approval so that when they do find the house that they want to make that offer on, they can go and see it. They can make that offer and do it all very quickly and confidently, because if they're holding off on getting pre-approved or pre-qualified until they find the right home, by the time they got that financing stuff figured out to see if they even can make an offer, that home's going to be gone. So the importance of having a solid pre-approval is more now than it really has been in many years.
And may I share, Josh, as a realtor on the field, as a listing agent or, as a buyer's agent, you want to share that pre-approval letter. Are you providing pre-approval letters for your buyers, Josh, to share with the realtors when they're writing an offer?
I often am, but one thing I am doing is I'm actually talking to people, maybe they qualify for a higher number than they want to be spending. So I'm actually providing custom pre-approval letters to them that say you're pre-approved up to a certain point, because if they show that to the sellers and it's a higher number than they want to be spending on a house, then the sellers might say, oh, I'll counter at their maximum pre-approval number. So we are providing pre-approval letters as necessary, but we are making them custom to each home that they want to make an offer on.
Oh, nice strategy. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, I think this covers what we wanted to talk about today. I really appreciate your time, and always very informative getting together and looking at the charts, the numbers, and trying to find the story in these numbers and relating it to working on the street.
That's right. And, thanks, Brian, for everything. For those of you watching, if you're still here, make sure you click on subscribe to the channel, click on like, maybe hit that bell, and we can share more with you every single week as we're providing more and more content and making sure you know all about the Calgary real estate and mortgage market. Thanks for watching.